Order all your half-shell favorites for takeout or delivery. Visit www.halfshelloysterhouse.com to browse a familiar menu and place your delivery or takeout order in minutes. Same menu prices, just a $5 flat delivery fee every time at Half Shell Oyster House, located at 115 Lower Park Cove, Suite 105, Flowood, Mississippi 39232, or you can give us a call at 769-257-7586. And oh yeah, tell them Sonya sent you.
She say sports. She say sports. She say sports. She say sports.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonya, and welcome back to She Say Sports. Today I have with me Assistant Athletic Director for Sports and Information, at Alcorn State University, Miss Jenae Jones. Hey Jenae, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I've seen you on Facebook, but we haven't seen each other in years physically.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. We actually used to, I was interning at Jackson State with the athletic department for a couple of years, even after I finished my master's. But were you working on your master's? Were you interning, or were you actually working at Jackson State?
I started off as a grad assistant, and then after my grad assistantship was over, I became it was called assistant manager for athletic media relations, but essentially it was like the assistant sports information director. So I was there for about 4 or 5 years in that role.
Wow, I didn't even realize it had been that long. That's great. And so you have been making some amazing strides in the sports arena. I've been watching you, and now you're back at home in the SIP. How does that feel?
It feels so good. It's nothing like being back in Mississippi and being around, the SWAC again. I tell people all the time, like when Alcorn offered me the job, it was worth it just being back and being a part of the SWAC and that entire environment.
People don't understand the SWAC. I mean, and I hear people talk about Howard's homecoming, and I'm sure it's very nice, but it's our SWAC homecomings. There's none like them at all. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, it's just, they're amazing. We have a great time. So, and you're originally from where in Mississippi?
I'm originally from Jackson, Mississippi, but I was born in Vicksburg. So I kind of have family in Vicksburg and family in Jackson.
Gotcha. Okay. So you went to high school and everything here. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Well, Jenae, I have to ask you, how did your love for sports begin?
It's such a funny story because it was totally on accident. I started off at Tougaloo as a biology major, and I just was so stressed out. Like my grades weren't bad, but it was just the constant studying, I felt like I was missing out on college life. So second semester, my junior year, I decided to change my major. I just wasn't happy. And one of the few degrees that I could still finish with on time and graduate with my class was mass communication. So I changed my major to mass communication. And that was like 2009. My dean at the time, rest his soul, Eric Stringfellow, asked me, what did I want to do as far as journalism? And I didn't know. And I just randomly said sports.
Wow. Are you serious? That is amazing.
And he was like, well, it's a good thing because the only internship that was still available was at Jackson State with the sports information department with Wesley. And that's pretty much what happened. I started there as a student worker in 2009 and just kind of kept hanging around it and just never left.
That is crazy. I never knew that. I'm glad I asked because I'm always curious as how people get into sports. And my story, I was a daddy's girl, and I started hanging out with him because I wanted to be around him. So he watched a bunch of sports, and that lady, that was the first person I saw
with a microphone on the sideline, and I was like, I got to do that, and that was always in my heart. So it's amazing. I never knew that, Jenae. That's wow. Well, it works for you.
Yeah, it definitely has. I've made a career out of just a secondhand thought.
Just, I mean, a secondhand thought. Exactly. So, what exactly does your role entail? Assistant athletic sports information.
Well, basically,
Director, I'm sorry.
oh no, it's okay. Technically, I stat the games. So everything, all the sports that we have, I'm there to stat it. I write the pregame stories. I do the postgame stories. I submit nominations to the different institutions, whether it's a conference nomination for all SWAC or to the HBCU All-Stars for an All-Star game. I submit all of those nominations. I run the social media pages, and I kind of help with the marketing and promotion of the athletic department.
Okay. So what's a typical day like for you?
Mostly it's me sitting down because I have a really bad memory. So I have this little book I call my so I open it up.
Wait a minute, you broke up, you froze. You said you have a little book you call what now?
I call it my brain.
Oh.
it's a little planner with all my to-do stuff on it. But mostly it's reaching out, it's writing pregame stories. So I look and see what games we have for that week. So I'll write a post-game story. Like our softball team is going to Grambling this weekend. These are the kickoff times. This is what our players doing. This is our best hitter. This is our best person in the circle. And then I give all the information, whether the game is going to be live streamed or there'll be live stats available. I sit down with coaches. I get quotes for those stories. I create graphics for if there's going to be a game day, I create a game day graphic saying this is when the game is going to be. If it's the actual game day, I'm usually sitting in somebody's press box or at some scorer's table, statting the game. And then after, I sit beside the coach as he's doing his post-game interview with the radio, or if there's any other media there, I kind of supervise that. Then I write my post-game story. I do my post-game graphics. So that's pretty much, a day in the life in the sports information director.
And when I started interning with Jackson State, they was like, why do you have to be at the stadium at 9 if the game is at 6? They have no clue what all goes into game day. Yep. And so you said a mouthful, and a lot of people don't know. I mean, that's just part of it. That's not even all that we have to do. So it's amazing how much goes into just one game. So that's amazing.
Football.
Football.
Yeah, football is that big one because you have to set up the books. There's pre-game notes that have to be created. There's depth charts that have to be created. You got to make sure you feed the people in the press box. Like all of that goes in and part of game day for football. And some of the similar stuff goes in for basketball, one of the major sports.
Right, exactly. So do you have a favorite sport you like working with?
It really just depends. I hate to say it. It really depends on like the temperament of the coach. Like if I get along with a coach, I enjoy working with them. When I was at Jackson State, I loved working with baseball. Coach Johnson was a pleasure to work with.
Oh, no, the coach was nice. You remember I hate baseball. I don't know if you remember that. I used to hate to work the baseball games. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're long, but
he was really nice though.
Yeah, just being around the atmosphere, like the coaches are really good. Right. The players were really nice when I was at Jackson State. I ended up leaving Jackson State and going to Mississippi University for Women. I was there for I went in 2017, I left 2001, so 4 years. And I developed a really, really good relationship with the volleyball coach and the softball coach. So I thoroughly enjoyed being with them and traveling with them and covering their sports. And I did like a year stint at West Alabama, and their baseball coach was amazing. Their kids were amazing. So I really, really enjoyed working with baseball. So it just really depends on who's on the roster and just like the relationship I'm able to build with the coach.
Right, exactly. That makes sense. So what's the most difficult part of your job?
The constant working, it can be so draining.
Yeah.
Right now I'm in like a search for an assistant. So when I started at Alcorn, I'm really the only person in the department right now. So I was just telling somebody the other day, I started March 2nd. I may have had like a day and a half off since March 2nd. So it's just the constant moving and moving and going, the long days. I live in Vicksburg, so I'm about 40 minutes from Alcorn. So if a baseball game we have a 6 o'clock baseball game, it lasts 3 hours. I write the story, I get home, I might get home at 11:30, 12. And then the next day we'll have a 1 o'clock first pitch. And I try to be there 3 hours before the game. So I'm having to just get like 5 or 6 hours of sleep to get back on the road and drive to Alcorn. So that's just the exhausting part, the constant moving that I have to deal with.
And you have to definitely, like, food wise, because sometimes you may not even have time to eat, keep snacks on you. Because you've been on a journey the last couple of years. I'm so proud of you. So that is great. That's great.
Thank
So
you.
what are some of the challenges of being a woman in a male dominated profession?
It's the respect factor. Sometimes people question my knowledge. It's like I've been doing it. I know I started as a student worker in 2009, but technically I've been in sports information for 13 years now.
Wow.
And I feel like I've learned from the best. So when people question my knowledge, that's something that I always have to run into. And not only with me just being a woman, but also me having a very young face. Most people assume that I'm right out of college, and I'm like, no, I'm in my mid-30s. Like I've been doing this,
Right.
So that's one thing, is just, people questioning my knowledge and my expertise in the arena.
That's funny you said that, because I remember when I met you, but before Wesley introduced us, I was like, I said, why you got this little girl working for you? He was like, who are you talking about? And I'm like, and he was like, just a grown woman. I was like, what? But I knew you, and he was like, no, she's in her 20s. I mean, I thought you was a little kid too. And then, you short, I'm tall. And I was like, this little cute girl, why you got her working for you? He was like, girl, she's an intern. So that's true.
I'll never forget when I was in the office one day. I think at this point I was just a graduate assistant, and I was working on something, and somebody walked in and was like, where's your dad? I was like, my boss.
And you know what? Because Ashley was up there all the time. So they probably thought you was not because she was a little girl then, but as far as they knew his daughter came up there sometimes. That's hilarious. He was like, my boss. Oh, I know he loved that. He is so funny. That's how, and I still call him boss today. He truly taught me a lot. That was my first internship and my first sports job. So I really enjoyed learning and gleaning from Wesley. He's a wealth of knowledge. So thankful for him, really am. So Jenae, what are some, it was something I was going to ask you. This is not what I was going to ask. I can't in my mind. What's one of your favorite parts of your job? Working with the students, or
it's working with the students and seeing them grow. The hardest part and the most rewarding part is watching them develop and then leave. I know there was the 2023 SWAC women's soccer SWAC championships at Jackson State. I watched them come in as freshmen, and I followed their career all the way, went to their graduation, and when they were like, bye, Miss Jenae, you're happy for them, but it's kind of heartbreaking because you kind of feel like that they're your babies. And now I see them on Facebook, and they're lawyers and doctors and just thriving, and it's so rewarding to see those, once young freshmen, now career people living their best lives.
That's true. Now, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It's just, I remember some of the kids, and I don't remember all of their names because I didn't work with them closely like you did.
Mhm.
I was more the operational part of the day, getting stuff ready for the games. But JB, remember the basketball player JB? It was certain
Yeah.
players that stood out to me. And when it was time for them to go, or if they left the school to go somewhere else, it was kind of sad because you're watching them grow, and it's just like, wow. I
Mhm.
remember when like you said, you were a freshman, and now you're a grown man with kids and all this type of stuff. So that's very interesting. But speaking of JSU, uh, JSU will be the first HBCU to have their spring game televised on April 24th, which will be on ESPNU. TSU and Eddie George, they'll be playing Notre Dame next season. And the Irish, this will be the Irish's first time playing at HBCU. What are
Mhm.
your thoughts on the recent attention on HBCUs? Have what we've been, all the attention we've been getting from the media as well as recruits?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. For so long, I feel like people have thought of HBCUs as an afterthought. And we shouldn't be an afterthought. We have the talent, we have the know-how, we have the
Right.
smarts. Like any field you can find a HBCU grad that's capable of the job, whether it's being a football player or being a WNBA player or being a doctor. Like I
Right.
just feel like these odds that we're receiving is going to help us grow and become better, and it's making us more competitive and seen as more competitive on the
Exactly.
national stage. Hmm.
That is true. Earlier this week, Amisha Williams Holiday was drafted in the WNBA, round, what was it,
Three.
round three, and number 25. So proud of her. And she went to the Indiana Fever.
Hmm.
So excited for her. She was actually the sixth HBCU player to be drafted to the WNBA and the second in the SWAC to be
Hmm.
drafted. The girl, first of all, I love seeing her play. She is truly an amazing baller. I
Hmm.
don't know if you know some of the backstory, but when she got pregnant, I think her freshman year, and she dropped out of school. But Coach Reed begged her, talked to her, and told her to come back to school.
Hmm.
And just think, it's coaches like that, people in your life that makes a difference, that really opened her eyes and was like, get an education. You
Yeah.
have a child now, and look where she is now. She is in the WNBA.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Hmm.
Now, besides her being an amazing player, do you think because of all the attention on HBCUs and the SWAC, even Jackson State, and even that game that we played against LSU, because that
Yeah.
opened a lot of people's eyes. Do you think that had a lot to do with her being drafted as well?
Of course, we are becoming more and more. The world is paying more attention to us, and we are being
Right.
more and more competitive. And it's not even just like, congrats, like they powered through and put up a good game against
Exactly.
LSU. But if you also look at the Alcorn's men's basketball team, they
Yes.
put up a really good fight against Texas A&M in the first round of the NIT, and basically just lost because of free throws.
Free throws.
So
Yep.
so we are coming back, battling back, and we're putting our names on the tips of everyone's tongue
Yes.
who's in the sports arena, and I'm enjoying it. I'm applauding it, and I'm happy that I'm a part of the people who get to record this history as it's being made.
I love it. I totally agree. It's a very exciting thing to see. Excuse me. I remember when COVID first started, and everything was happening, the social unrest in our country with George Floyd. I put up a post. I don't know if you even saw it, but I put up a post and I was telling HBC, I mean, our Black players to come home, and it
Mhm.
was more to it. But it's like it's been an exodus, and I'm so glad that some of them have come home. Everybody can't go to a HBCU. Some are going to still go to a PWI, and that's okay. I want you to thrive wherever you are. But my thing is never ever count HBCU schools out. Don't look at it as, "Oh, I don't think they'll be seen." Yes, they will. We have
Mhm.
plenty of professional players who went to HBCUs and as a matter of fact, SWAC schools. So I'm excited for her. I'm excited for all the athletes that are getting their just due, being able to be seen and not just an afterthought. They see us for real now. They see it as a threat, and not a threat. Well, some may.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just be real. So some may see it as a threat. So we are here to stay. We were always here, but we really are here to stay now. I'm excited about it. I really am. I am. So yeah.
Me too.
So Jenae, before I let you go, I have a game that I play called You Can Get With This or You Can Get With That. And what that is, it's a way for me and the listeners to get to know the guests better. I'll ask you a few questions and you just tell me which one best fits you. No answer is wrong. Okay?
Okay.
So we'll start off with this one. I know you'll like this one because I love this one. A store where every item is free. Would you prefer a store where every item is free or a restaurant where every dish is calorie free?
Where every dish is calorie free.
Y'all, the struggle is real. Oh my gosh. I forget free stuff. Just give me all the food, no calories. If I can do that, my life will be complete. So I totally agree. Do you prefer tattoos or piercings?
Ooh, that's a good one. As someone with both, this is really hard.
So which one did you get first? I
got my ears pierced first. I'm gonna go with tattoos though. I think they're more. They define art. They're more artsy. Like you can put more character to yourself in the tattoos that you choose. Yeah, I'm gonna go with tattoos.
I've never had a tattoo. I'm thinking about getting one, but I don't know. Anyway, do you prefer receiving gifts or giving gifts?
Giving.
Yeah, I do like receiving though.
Yeah.
You prefer Chinese food or hibachi, Japanese hibachi?
Hibachi.
I don't trust Chinese food. Y'all be eating those ribs there. That's cat ribs. They too thin. I don't understand. That's not real ribs. And y'all, I'm like, that is gross.
I've never had ribs in a Chinese restaurant, so I can't relate.
I mean, I've seen people eat it. I'm like, are you for real? That's crazy to me. Anyway, do you prefer to spring forward or fall back?
Fall back. Even though I prefer the spring, but I like that extra hour of sleep though.
No, I do miss that. Now that spring forward is of the devil. That first week, I'd be so tired. I think everybody's just drained. But this is my time to shine. I love spring and summer. I love it. You prefer a night out on the town or a cozy night in?
Cozy night in.
Oh yeah, you didn't grow up because you and Jasmine used to hit the streets. Y'all used to keep the streets hot. Jasmine, where you going? Finna meet Jenae at Capitol Grill. I was like, oh God. You know I'm telling the truth.
You are. Capitol Grill still is my spot. I just don't heat it up as much.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you didn't grow up. Do you prefer cash or plastic?
Plastic.
Plastic.
Yeah.
Do you prefer looks or personality in a guy?
Personality.
Really?
Yeah. Definitely.
I like them looks though.
Yeah, looks was big in my 20s, but now I'm like, just because it glitter don't mean it's gold.
Now that's true. Now that is true. Now, you got a point there. Do you prefer hot coffee or iced coffee?
Iced coffee.
Really? How does that taste? Yeah.
Like cold coffee.
I'm gonna let y'all have it.
A little vanilla in mine, it'd be great.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Last but not least, I'm sorry. Do you prefer ambition or comfort?
Comfort. I know that's bad, but I prefer comfort.
Why? Why?
It's just something in, have like not, I guess I'm scared to fail. Like I feel like if you're ambitious and you're always trying new things and achieving to be better and achieving to be greater, there's this margin of like you're gonna fail. There's gonna be some fail. So I have a fear of failure.
Well, and you know what? I get it, but in that failure, sometimes there's a lot of success. So
Yeah,
you
this is
can't
true.
be stagnant. You know, you've been making some strides, like I mentioned earlier, for you
Yeah.
to leave Jackson State, because that was comfort for you,
Yes, it was. It definitely was.
and to go to the other school and then move to Alabama and now Alcorn. That's ambition to me. You're growing.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
get what you're saying. In certain ways, you do want comfort, but you
Mhm.
have to keep striving to become better. So
Yeah. That's true.
that's okay. Well, Jenae, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. Please tell the listeners how they can follow you on social media. Regarding- go ahead.
Oh, sorry. If you're following me personally, I'm Jenae Jenae Jones on Facebook. Jenae Jones, one word, _SID on Twitter.
Okay. And guys, you can follow me at She Say Sports on Facebook, She Say Sports 23 on Instagram, at She Say 23 on Twitter, and please subscribe to our YouTube page, She Say Sports. Well, until next time, this is Sonia with She Say Sports.